Let's talk American history. So that Patriot Front March that you saw in Washington this past weekend, that white nationalist march, it's not the first time that that's happened. It was almost 100 years ago. It was 1926, September of that year. The KKK marched through Washington, D.C. And I remembered something when I was reading about this over the last couple of days because it's just sat with me. I remembered my 12th grade history teacher, Coach Smith, always telling us to recognize patterns in history. It turns out Coach Smith was onto something, right? Many of us think the Klan was this sort of secret organization that was hiding in the South. But after the Civil War, the Klan emerged during Reconstruction with one central goal. That was to use terror and violence to stop newly freed Black Americans from exercising the rights that were guaranteed to them by the 14th and 15th Amendments. And that violence had become so widespread across the country that in 1870, the federal government created the Department of Justice. That's in large part why. One of the earliest missions was prosecuting the Klans and protecting the civil rights of formerly enslaved Americans. And for a while that worked. But then in 1915, a movie comes out, The Birth of a Nation, one of the biggest movies in America. And it glorified the Klan and it helped to fuel its resurgence. This new Klan had enormous political influence, and they went after not just Black Americans, they went after Catholics, they went after Jews, they went after immigrants. 100 years later, another white nationalist group marched through Washington. They're not the same organization, but when you study history, you start to notice something, right? When there are periods of this sort of rapid social change, cultural and demographic change, it often coincides with this rise of extremist movements that claim they're defending a version of the country they believe is slipping away. That doesn't mean that every era is the same. It certainly doesn't mean that every comparison here is perfect, right? The people change, the slogans change, the uniforms change. The patterns don't. History rarely gives us an exact rerun. It more so gives us kind of an echo. And maybe the most important thing that you can do watching this right now is decide whether or not you're paying attention and you're listening. And shout out to Coach Smith. I still think about her all the time.